Hello and welcome, beautiful. This is the Shannon Blanchard podcast. I am your host, friend, guide, new number one fan, helping you start and scale the business of your dreams so you can create a life that feels lucky every single day. I am super excited because today we are kicking off a series all about sustainability. If you're not familiar with my work as a mentor to aspiring entrepreneurs, one of the core things that I focus on is sustainability because I believe in not just building a business that you love or a business that gets clients, but a business that is truly sustainable and supports your long-term vision of what you want to create for your life. So today we are going to be talking about marketing and how to have a sustainable marketing plan in your business. Originally, I was going to be talking about all three topics of this series in just today's episode, but it was so much information, you guys, that I figured why not break it down into three separate episodes. And the fun thing is, if you haven't noticed yet, down in the show notes, you will find a link to submit questions. So this link is not just for this series, but it's going to be there moving forward where you can ask any questions about anything I talk about on the podcast, questions about entrepreneurship, your business, anything you want to throw my way, and I might chat through it in an episode. So if you click on the link, it'll take you to a form where you can ask your question. You can include your name and details if that's relevant, you think it would be helpful. Otherwise, you can just submit your question anonymously. And I'm really excited to be doing this because I actually wanted to start doing this a few years ago on my newsletter, but I ended up just not ever getting around to it. And now that I have the podcast, I just thought this is perfect. I love helping and supporting you guys. So any questions you have, you can send them there. And like I said, specifically, if you have questions about anything we're going to talk about today, I'd love to help you in building a business that is sustainable. So let's talk about sustainability, because a sentiment that I hear a lot is people saying something along the lines of, I will worry about sustainability later on in my business. When I've got clients, when I'm making money, let me just get over this hump and then I'll worry about sustainability. They think it's something for down the road, or it's kind of a luxury in your business. When you're at a certain level, you can then focus on sustainability. And that is not the case at all. And the problem with that mindset is that, one, it keeps you in the waiting stage for a long time. This is true in general in business. If you constantly say, oh, I'll do that when, I'll get there then, you are keeping yourself in a stage of waiting. And you're never going to be in the stage of it's here now. The second problem with that mindset, though, is that sustainability is the foundation for creating success. So that's why we talk about it from the very beginning of starting your business. In my program, Lucky Day, it is one of the very first things that we talk about with everything that we set up. When it is your marketing, thinking about your offer suite, when we get to working with clients, setting up your packages, all of it needs to have the intentionality of being sustainable. Because the result of not prioritizing sustainability in your business, and what I see frequently, is service providers who are booked out, but they're not making nearly enough money because they weren't thinking about a plan for sustainably scaling their revenue along the way. So now they are booked out, they don't have any time, they can't even hardly market their business, and they're not making enough money. It also will come up in the form of people posting a bunch and then burning out, and then they're posting a bunch and they're burning out, and all along they're struggling to get clients because, again, nothing is sustainable there. So you can see how this will show up in your business, and oftentimes it's not going to be obvious right away if you don't have a real plan for sustainability, but it will show up in your business with time. So if you're not currently prioritizing sustainability in your business, today is the perfect day to start. And like I said, today's episode is going to be all about your marketing plan and how to make sure it is sustainable. So marketing is the area that most people can find really challenging to be consistent with, right? Let's just be honest. It's not always easy to keep up with your marketing. I certainly had numerous phases in my business as a virtual assistant and as an OBM where I would fall off of my marketing for several months. And then what do you know, several months later, you end up in a situation where you're like, why don't I have any leads coming in? Why is my business not growing? It really can create this cycle where you get really excited about your business. You start marketing and posting all your content, then you burn out from it, you become discouraged, and then you get desperate. So you start marketing again, and then you burn out. And this cycle just sort of continues, and it's really vicious, right? So the first thing I want to talk about today to help you with that problem is having levels to your marketing. So I want you to think about having 3 different levels for your marketing that you can switch in between depending on where you're at in your business and what your needs are. So starting with level 1, this is going to be your minimum viable marketing plan. This is your lowest level of output, essentially what you just have to do to keep the needle moving forward just enough, right? So a lot of times in your business, moving the needle forward in terms of your marketing is going to mean different things in different seasons. It could be that at one point you're actively trying to get sales, get clients. At another point, you're trying to increase your engagement. It could be increasing your followers at a certain point. When we talk about level 1, this is like, I'm just trying to keep my account active, like I need to not ghost my account and not have people completely forget that I even exist. So think about what this could look like for you. Maybe it's just posting once a week and stories 3 times a week or something like that. Maybe it's even less. I mean, it really will depend, but you have to think of what that level is going to be, because this is where you're going to live in the seasons where you are booked and busy, baby. Like you are, you're working with all of your dream clients. Maybe you're backpacking through Europe. I just recently had a past student talk to me about how she was backpacking through Europe. I was like, oh, I love that. That's amazing. I don't know what kind of adventures you might be up to in your life, but when you are busy and you just don't have the capacity to be showing up all the time, that's why level 1 is there. Then level 2 is your daily driver. Like this is your comfortable, you are posting consistently and you're posting enough to be growing your audience and growing your engagement, things like that. This is where you live 75% of the time, right? Like this is your day-to-day. You can keep up with it and it's moving the needle forward, actively bringing you in leads, etc. Then we have level 3, which is where things get a little crazy. This is where you are going 110% effort. You are putting everything into your marketing for a short period of time. I've talked on this podcast about visibility sprints. That would be an example of level 3. So when you are actively trying to accomplish a really specific goal and you are going to show up at 110% to make it happen, and you're going to do that for a short period of time. Let's say anywhere from like a month to 2 months at most. That is level 3. You're not going to live there all the time because it's not sustainable, but I love to have these little moments of level 3 throughout the year. Like whether it's just a few weeks or a month to a month and a half, I will do these sort of sprints with my marketing. It just rejuvenates me when you're really putting out a lot of content. It gets ideas flowing, and it also helps to really accomplish a specific goal. So for example, if I have a new freebie that I'm putting out right now, I'm doing it because I just launched the podcast. Whenever you have something really specific that you're like, I want to get out in front of people, that's level 3. So like I said, with these 3 levels, most of the time you're going to be in that level 2, but it's so important to think about what level 1 and level 3 might look like for you in terms of your actual marketing output, because it's really important to have a plan for when you just can't keep up with your normal output of marketing. It's really important with everything in your business to have sort of like a contingency plan of, okay, when I fall off the horse, like what am I going to do? Because it's so easy to have an all or nothing mindset of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to keep up with it for the next 6 months. And then when you can't keep up with it because you were trying to push yourself too hard, you're like, oh, I can't do it at all then, right? It's much better to have a balanced approach and to just say, when I'm in seasons where I can't keep up, I need to know that I can lower my output and that is okay. And I know that eventually I'll get back to the level 2. That's okay. But we want to have these sort of levels that you can shift between. So that's the first principle of making your marketing sustainable, is knowing the different levels that you can shift in between depending on where you're at in your business. The second key idea I want you to implement in terms of creating sustainable marketing is getting all of the juice out of all of your content. And here's what I mean. You should have at the top of your content pyramid one form of content that is feeding all of your other forms of content. And the type of content that's going to be at the top of the pyramid is either going to be your longest form content or the content that is easiest for you to make. So for example, now that I have this podcast, my podcast is at the top of my content pyramid. And from the podcast, I have several different clips that go to all the different platforms. But in addition to that, I will talk about these same topics that are in my podcast episodes in fresh content too. I will make other TikToks and reels about it. I will make carousel posts about it that are not even directly reusing the content from the podcast, but it's the same content idea. And then I take all of that and that goes on to my stories. It feeds into my newsletter, etc. Prior to having the podcast, though, I want to say this because I know that a lot of my audience, you might not have multiple different types of content, or you certainly might not have a long form kind of content, and that's absolutely okay. What's going to be at the top then, like I said, is the content that is easiest for you to make. So prior to my podcast, what was at the top for me were TikToks, because I can open that TikTok app, girl, 20 TikToks later, like I can just sit down, record. And so what would happen from there is that's where I would get my ideas for my Instagram content, for my newsletters, for my stories, etc. So the reason why you want the content type that's easiest for you to make at the top, if you don't have something that's an explicitly long form kind of content, is because you want something where you can get the most volume. So let's say you're only active on one platform, and let's use Instagram as an example. Maybe for you, the easiest type of content to create are carousels. So then carousels would be at the top of your content pyramid. And for each carousel that you create, that one content idea could form a short form reel that's like a voiceover or just text on screen. It could create a talking head or a longer form voiceover kind of reel. And it could feed your stories. So that one idea is creating a carousel, 2 reels, and stories. And the reason why this concept of getting all of the juice out of each of your content ideas is so important is because, one, you have to reiterate the same message over and over and over with your marketing, because not only do you not know who in your audience saw each piece of content, it's very possible that you post a carousel, but then half of your audience doesn't open Instagram that day, so they never even see it. So you need to talk about it the next day on your stories because more people will see it there. And then the next day, more people will see it in a reel. So you need to get the idea out there in as many different forms so it can reach as many different people, but also just to reinforce the message over and over and over. You have to say it numerous times, but also, practically speaking, it's really important to reuse your content ideas in as many different ways as you can for the sake of sustainability, because it is so easy to feel like, oh, I talked about all of my content ideas. I have nothing left to say, right? And so if you can just come up with a few core messages, a few core good ideas, speaking to your ideal clients' pain points and desires and building trust. Those are the 3 content types that I'm always talking about you need to get clients. If you just have a few good ideas that are hitting on each 3 of those things, you can create content for literally months, you guys. So you don't need a bunch of different content ideas. You just have to get everything that you can from each idea that you have. Now let's talk about the process behind your marketing plan, and whether you are a content batching girly or not, this is going to apply to you. I think the process behind your marketing plan is one of the most important aspects to having a sustainable marketing plan, because it is so easy to burn out from creating content when every single day you're thinking, oh my gosh, what can I talk about today? What can I make a piece of content about? I have to show up on my stories right now. I haven't done it. And every single day you're feeling this urgency and this pressure, right? So to create a sustainable marketing plan, I want you to think about all of these steps that go into your marketing. So I want you to detail out every single little thing, coming up with the content ideas, creating the graphics in Canva, recording the content, recording B-roll, writing captions, etc. You get the point. You want to write out every single step that goes into your marketing. And then you want to chunk things together, certain tasks together, where it makes sense for you and your brain. And then what you're going to do as the last step is assign those chunks of tasks to specific days of the week or the month. So, for example, what I used to do back when I was a virtual assistant, creating a lot of graphics for my content, is I would have one day that was for my coming up with the content ideas and then creating the graphics in Canva. And then the next day, I would actually write the captions and schedule them all to be posted or post them live. Even now, for example, with the podcast, I know that the early days in the week are my ideating. I'm working on the outline for an episode, and then Thursdays are my filming days, and Fridays I'm doing a lot of the heavy editing work and actually getting the podcast ready to go and scheduled in all of the platforms. Now, when I said that this is for you, whether you are into content batching or not, it's because when you are putting together the chunks of tasks, you can decide how frequently you want to do those depending on if you are somebody who likes to batch content or not. So if you are somebody who likes to batch content, you could just say that the first Monday of every month, you are ideating and creating the graphics in Canva, recording, what have you. And then the next day you're writing out captions, you're scheduling, etc. If you are somebody like I was, I could not batch content like that. That just would not work for me, honestly. So I always repeated this process on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis. But it's important to have a routine like this because it's repeatable, but also because it will give you breaks from certain tasks that allow your brain to just like relax and turn off that creativity, mode that for the vast majority of people that I speak to, creativity is the aspect that is hardest and trying to constantly come up with content and all of these things. So when you give yourself the ability to just have one day out of the week that you're coming up with content ideas, or even once a month, once every couple of weeks, that gives your brain so much time to not have to think about it and to kind of get a break. And then you feel fresh and ready to come up with more ideas. So mapping out that process will really help you to just feel so much less overwhelmed. So important to set those routines early on so that you are prepared for the adjustment of running your own business and working with the client's business at the same time when you get to that stage. Okay, so let's run through a quick audit of your marketing sustainability. The first thing is your current level of output for your marketing sustainable long term? Or do you need to potentially switch down into that level 1? Or maybe it makes sense for you to have a level 3 for a period of time, and you should start thinking about what that might look like for you. Secondly, are you currently using each of your content ideas across at least 3 different content formats? So again, that could be one idea that goes to a carousel, a short reel, and a story, or it's even using the same idea just with a different hook in multiple different posts. If this is a routine that you're not currently in your business of taking one idea across multiple different formats, I recommend just go back to your content and find like 5 old pieces of content that you could reword into a different hook and then try it that way to take that one idea and put it across multiple different formats. That way you don't have to come up with new ideas, just use what you have already and see how the process looks to create multiple different kinds of content from that one idea. And then lastly, do you have a repeatable process for your marketing plan that is mapped out across your week? Once you've got all 3 of those areas of your marketing plan figured out, you officially have a plan for sustainable marketing to ensure that you are continuing to show up, market your business, and get those clients. Which leads me to part 2 of this series, which is going to be all about how to have a sustainable lead generation ecosystem. So I'm really thrilled to bring that to you. If you are somebody who is multi-platform or you're a single platform, doesn't matter. That episode will help you ensure that you always have leads coming in to your business in a way that is sustainable. And lastly, if you are interested in working together one-on-one to start and scale the business of your dreams, I would love to support you inside my program, Lucky Day. We are kicking off in just a couple of weeks, and it's my second to last round of the year, you guys, believe it or not. So get in while you can. If you're not familiar with Lucky Day, it is my 8-week high-touch one-on-one mentorship experience. So you've got the actual course Lucky Day itself that has over 60 video lessons walking you through starting your business from the ground up all the way through scaling your business. And you have lifetime access to that course, which I update constantly, so you can always come back to it as a resource. But in addition to that, you also have unlimited mentorship access to me. So you have unlimited calls, unlimited messaging. I love to see everything that you are building building and working on. We work through any roadblocks that you're experiencing, the mindset blocks that naturally just come up as you are getting started. I am really there to help you and support you in getting this dream business off the ground and making it a reality. So I will have the link for the waitlist in the show notes. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out on Instagram. My handle's at shay.blanchard. We can set up a free consult call, chat. I'm here to help you make the best decision for you. So thanks so much for listening to today's episode, and I will see you in the next episode for part 2. See you there. Bye.